Was being a great student really worth the effort? My grades have always been a priority of mine, and I am wondering as to what extent it will be beneficial after graduating from university. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Less the grades, more the ability to set and meet goals, prioritize time, learning, research, and overall the knowledge that you can meet challenges successfully is what will help you down the road. I graduated near the bottom of my class, barely scraped by. Spent my time in college drinking beer. I'm nearly 60 now. I wait tables for a living. Now, don't get me wrong, I like my job and I have good friends and a full life. Money can be an issue at times, but I get by. But each time I try to better myself, maybe go back to school, get another degree, maybe enter a different field, that old college transcript gets dredged up, C's and D's, a couple fails or withdrawals, and I get told that I'll need to retake a lot of basic curriculum before I even apply for an advanced program. I can't afford that, and it just seems daunting, so I don't do it. So, while I doubt that a stellar GPA is going to continue opening doors for very long after you graduate, I can definitely say that a miserable performance can haunt you for years afterwards, so just keep doing what you're doing. I was a 4.0 student during graduate school and a department darling. Did everything right. Letters of recommendation were golden. Didn't get into a PhD program. Make six figures doing a job that requires a high school diploma. At least my student loans are paid off. Terrible grades will close doors down the road, but decent grades now will show that you're competent. Studying to get perfect grades isn't going to be extremely important unless you're looking to attend graduate school, like a PhD or MD program. I'd say that grades benefit you for the very first job you get after you finish your degree and when you apply for graduate school. After that, though, the focus will be on your work experience and professional accomplishments. Yes, it builds your confidence and helps you to develop valuable skill sets. That being said, I did party hard as well. I had a work hard, play hard mantra during my schooling. Now I'm an old lady who hardly parties ever, goes to bed early, and I work at a steady pace instead of in bursts like I did as a student. I also don't miss partying. Been there, done that. It has extraordinarily diminishing returns. Whereas I never regret the time I spent studying and working hard to be a good student. My grades were always really important to me, too. But really, after college, no one cared that I graduated summa cum laude. They just cared that I graduated. I imagine there are some fields where your grade point average might be important, but not many. When I taught college-level course, I was constantly telling some of my perfectionist students to stop stressing so much about their grades. I don't think it was worth the extra work, time and worry I put into it. I'm a professor at a university that is ranked in the top 5% of colleges in the US. My undergrad GPA was 1.7. I flunked. I then went and did a dead-end job that didn't matter what my GPA was. One day when I was 24 I realized that this is as good as it was going to get unless I got my shit together. Long story short, I became a workaholic in an industry where there was less reliance on GPA, information systems. Back in the 90s it was about what you knew, not what grade you got, and over the next 15 years worked up to being a director in an investment bank. I then did an exec MBA and a PhD and the rest is history. The moral of the story, it don't matter if the demand for the skills are not in an area that you need a high GPA to get into. And if you have the subsequent motivation and drive to make the difference, then it doesn't matter. Otherwise, I think you need to work on your GPA. The skill of harnessing my attention to understand something was honed as a student. Now it feels like a superpower that I can turn on when I need to. I know I can learn anything if I set my mind to it, and that feels really good. I think this is a really interesting question, and I am curious to see what others have to say. For myself, I would say I am a really good student. I'm in my final semester of my Bachelor's of Science program with a 3.97 GPA. I would still party somewhat regularly, but I never got into hard drugs. I always saw education as this objectively good thing, and if I can do well in school, then I am somehow doing something good. I feel like students that are high achievers have a different mindset towards school. However, I admit that I was never a full-blown 4.0 honors student either, so perhaps I'm still not quite as smart as some other folks out there. In my experience, I would say it was worth it to get good grades. I moved away from my family, parents and siblings, to go to college, and school was the only thing I did full-time. I think it would have felt like a waste of time and money if I have not been a successful college student. By getting good grades, I was also able to receive scholarships and grants that helped me fund my schooling. Also, I had went into college with this idea that I wanted to continue on into grad school. I wasn't sure what I was going to study exactly, and it felt like it would take a long time, but I knew that good grades would help my chances. Now I'm about to graduate in about a month, and I've been accepted to a Masters of Science program next fall. By doing well in my classes, I was able to get letters of recommendations from my professors. Edit: I feel like it's good to have a goal, whatever that goal is. For me, school seemed like an obtainable thing to pursue. My goal now is to get into a PhD program. I feel like I am still young and trying to figure things out, and I'm glad that school has given me a somewhat structured life. I plan to graduate out of academia one day though, with no current desire to become a professor. So I am curious what my goal will be when that day comes. I am optimistic that it will be something worth pursuing. I'd say there is a factor of diminishing returns on the effort put in. Being a very good student is absolutely worth it, but being valedictorian isn't worth the amount of additional effort it takes over being an A student with a few extracurriculars you're really passionate about. Particularly at the university level, the important thing is to be good at what you're training to do. Good grades usually go along with this, but there are plenty of highly competent professionals that did just okay in school. I don't think it pays off to just be a great student, but it is important. Most of my life I was a crappy student but really enjoyed learning. The structure of our educational system was tough for me, but I was always really sharp. As a student I was in summer school 3 straight years in high school, then it took me 5 years to get my associate's degree before going on to get my bachelor's. Through most of this time I was a manager at a McDonald's and thought since I was a poor student I couldn't be successful in life. When I graduated I grinded hard and got a solid job leading projects at a Fortune 10 company by proving my abilities through my contract job. I continued to grind but never considered myself to be smart because I did poorly in high school and most of college. Through my career progression I got accepted into a top-tier business school where I earned my MBA while working full-time and got promoted into a senior position at my company where I was partnering with senior executives. I recently moved to Silicon Valley after accepting an offer from a big tech firm where I was asked to build a new program to help the company scale one of its high-growth businesses. When my father dropped me off to get my bachelor's degree, he told me he was sending me to college to get an experience as much as an education. I didn't quite understand at the time, but he couldn't have been more right. It's probably not worth it. Learning to repeat back what is pushed at you in school has little value. It doesn't prepare you for life very well. However, transferable skills are where it's at. If you are going into a field that keeps sending you new things, then the ability to learn quickly helps. Ability to suck up when needed, work together, don't be a dick, write a clear paragraph or short paper, do some spreadsheet work, etc. That's the sort of skills that will transfer from school to work. And some jobs fresh out of college want to know your GPA. But after that it's all about personal connections and skills, plus how you do your job. Yes. My first and current firm only accepts applications from GPA 3.5+. It's been a valuable learning experience in how shitty working life can be, at above average wages. It depends on what you gained, in your own esteem, by going through the exercise. It's been a big part of how you got from one thing to the next. Nobody else cares. They just know what you have to show for it, and that's not nothing. If you want to reevaluate the choices you made, take caution in comparing to people who chose to skate by with the lowest passing grades. It's only fair to consider the larger set of people who may have chosen that strategy, and that also includes the people who tried, a little, and failed to reach their goals. When you put in the effort to do your best, there's no faking it and no excuses, and it's almost always more successful than not putting in the effort. Going after grades will most likely help you learn more if you have the right mindset. When I say going after grades, I don't mean cram stuff to pass the test, I mean learn stuff to ace the test. If you can establish that work ethic and also aim for good grades in school, it will really open up a lot of opportunities in the long run. Probably more complicated answer than yes/no. Undergrad/HS/all as is meaningless in life. Grad programs won't mind if they want to work with you. That being said, bad grades will cut your fucking knees off academically. Really depends on the context. I needed decent grades to get into law school, though the LSAT is typically about 70% of the equation. Law school admissions use literal equations to rank applicants. Many employers only care that your grades are at least okay. Law school though, grades are extremely important to your career. Many employers post job listings stating they will only consider people in the top quarter or 10% of whatever of their class. If you graduate in the bottom half, you aren't going to be eligible for like 60% of legal jobs. Get at least B's and keep a 3.0. Focus your efforts primarily in learning about what you want to do, whether you need to study more or do internships. Get experience and get yourself prepared to leave college, find a job, and pay bills. Sort of. I graduated with a 4.0 from a top college, but sacrificed my entire social and romantic life for it. It was worth it in the sense that I ended up at a top law school W scholarship, and have a great job. But I look back and wish I realized I didn't have to be perfect. I likely would have ended up in a similar place with a slightly lower GPA. And a slightly more active social life. Your mileage may vary. Good grades are worth it to a point. But shouldn't be everything.